Hello and welcome to Ditching Hourly. I'm Jonathan Stark, and today I am joined by guest Eden Vidal. Eden, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Could you start off by telling folks a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we can get into the backstory and the transition?
Sure. So I'm Eden. I'm a designer, developer, entrepreneur. I do sort of things. I'm idealist in terms of just I do things, but I'm also pragmatic, I guess, in terms of I have some obsession with tools, methodologies, processes. So I guess I'm both in that aspect. I started under together with my wife like 7 years ago. Before that, I was sort of a full stack designer, I call it. Um, and we were a full service design studio doing all sort of work. Then started really focusing on the brand sprint, which is our sort of very much of a methodology for running branding processes for mostly for young technology companies. Or really, there's a really this offering really goes to a very specific audience, and this is what creates the fit and the match and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we continued to optimize it in the last 4 years or so. We ran more than 70 sprints like that. Now we are focusing more on, optimizing it, expanding it, and building more tools, building more methodologies, processes. That's
Right.
I think, at a glance.
Great. That's perfect. So I want to read a little bit of the email that you sent to me when you reached out, just so people have
Please.
context. Let's see. My name is Eden, and I want to thank you for your incredible impact on our business. About 5 years ago, I heard you on a podcast talking about value-based pricing and the importance of finding a niche, and it completely changed the game for us. And then you talk about the brand sprints, which I want to get into a little bit more. And then at the end, there is a really interesting piece where you said that recently our team grew, and I had the opportunity to look at your content again. Finally, I extended this approach to our team of contractors, moving them from hourly billing to fixed or monthly employee contracts. And that closed the circle for us and made a huge difference in our team dynamics. So that is really extra interesting. I don't hear that. I hear the first story sometimes, but the second part of the story, like switching your suppliers over to your model, is extremely unusual. So I want to get into that. But first, I've got a bunch of questions. So you're doing these brand sprints. Is that the only thing you do, or is that just the main thing, or is that the first thing that you do with someone and then maybe do like a bigger project with them? Or what does that look like?
So as a service, yes, it's the only thing we do. There's like the before, there's the strategy. So, and there's the after, which is like the development and the scaling the design. So think of it as like we're only doing this part that is in one endpoint is it's the brand story, and we sometimes, most of the times, even write the brand story ourselves. And at the other end, there is the scaling and handing it off to marketing team, to development team, to build mostly the website. And then it kind of defines all of our, it's like defines this product, right? And who we partner with and everything. At one point we were like, okay, that's hard enough. And that's when really I really got into the realization that I need to productize this process and we can really make a thing out of it.
Mhm.
And we really, we had the opportunity to do just that. So as a service, but we also make our own like actual tools, like, software,
Mhm.
also hardware soon.
Yeah.
One
And
thing is a
merch.
design tool that is powered by code that we've
Mm,
built for ourselves. Now we are launching it,
cool.
and we're also building some tool that motion capturing your entire space and let you control software, or
Wild.
design tool. So you could do like things like that and, move in your desktop, right? So we're trying to get things from things that exist in, in the future or like in gaming already, and bring them to tools, to creativity tools, basically.
Wild. I know my listeners are mostly focused on the service side of things and less on hardware, certainly in products. But that is super cool. And it's interesting to note that you've got the time and the internal bandwidth to even work on stuff like that. So that's really cool. So the 10-day brand sprint, does that encompass all of that, all the way from coming up with the strategy all the way through to the handoff to the marketing team? Or is that all in the 10 days? Or is it like, well, if you just want the strategy piece, it takes 5 days? Or is it like, what is the amount of variability, I guess, in the 10-day sprint?
So it is in terms of it's really fixed in terms of what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Always, that's what make it like so good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that if we, at one hand we have the brand story, so that gives us everything we need in order to create a visual language, right? Like by then we have the why, how, what, when, where, all of that. We answer all of these odd questions, and then our idea is basically to have like this ideal marketing asset, which is mostly the homepage, right? Like the website. So we focus on the homepage. We don't even create the other pages. We don't care about it. Sometimes we create more if we find it like necessary to enrich the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's this dance between creating the language, like the design system, and the website.
Right.
So there's literally a bunch of designers like having this style guide board and then the website, and running over, like making decisions. Some decisions like run with you forever, and some are like, going to the archive. And eventually there's like this clean board called design, in which we have all of these, everything looks like shiny, like final, and we then hand it off. And I think that's what makes it great, because our clients coming with the idea that, they need a website. Of course, they need their first campaign, the launch, but they need the design system to scale. And we try to get them through this funnel to realize that. And if they don't, we maybe don't even get to work with them eventually, because they're deliverable sort of driven, and not like so really make sure that they have that, and that's like the good fit for them.
Mm-hmm. So who's the ideal client when they come along? You said, I think, young tech firms, young tech companies. But what is the thing that causes them to be like, we need to invest in something like this? And then they could choose you, they could choose someone else. But what is the thing that happens in their mind? What's the pain that they're solving when they're like, we really need to invest some money in a brand sprint or some kind of like brand strategy?
Got it. So first they need to be into like, we need a brand, okay, for whatever reason. Maybe they're not deep enough with it, or like they are deep enough with it, or they are already doing a branding process intuitively or not, discussing the strategies with other founders, with other teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the first thing. But I think our value is like two things that never exist. It's like the quick and fancy. You can never have that. You can never have that. And I think we found that startups need that. And it's not that they need it because it's not like I need it yesterday. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm running really fast, and you can resolve this big problem for me, like, creating the visual identity. That's like, how do we translate words which are okay? We all speak, to visual language, which we know, none of us, some of us. So that's like, we found that this is like a big barrier to have like the quick and the fancy, and we're trying to really communicate that like both.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is always like, oh, you do that in 10 days. So I don't want to. I'm not here to brag.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like, you look at the project, you look how rich it is, and then the showcase, and then you say, no way you did it in 10 days, and that's great. I want you to say that.
Yes.
That's like what So I think this is the main value that they're getting.
Mm-hmm. How involved are they in the process? Can you just sort of meet with them up front, and then you deliver this fancy thing at the end of 10 days, or are they involved throughout the process? And who on their team is involved? Is it always the top dogs, or is it marketing or lower level people? Like people, I don't know. Do you have some people on their team participating in the logo creation, let's say? I don't know.
Yeah. So at our side, it's always the same. Like we are bringing different talent for, if we know that there are going to be some specific style or specific illustration, we can find. This is like one strength I have. I guess we have in terms of resources.
Mm-hmm.
But at the other side, it changes. So we can work with founders, we can work with design teams, which we like the most. and the idea is that once we have the story, there's only one place where we can get to, and we communicate it really hard. Like we can only get there. So you can sit, like you as a client, you see that the back, you can do like, you can touch sometimes, but we'll do like that. It's better for you to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
You speak, we'll just communicate, and we trying to be, there's like this balance of tough love that we say internally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and yeah, it's really a balance. Like we cannot be here or there. It's like really in between to facilitate this process, this really emotional process, and get to the place that we visioned once we had the story done. I mean, that they maybe not, and we have to always, maybe we didn't get the style right, but we're just before that, and we didn't even, we have a lot of other things ready already, and they're like thinking that that's it, that's how it's gonna be like. Or maybe it's completely different from what they envisioned in the first place. So, and that's bad because that's not going to get their company, that's not how we, as, we may be wrong too, but they paid us money to be professional.
Yeah.
And we trying to really, go with that.
So are they seeing things along the way or?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's like part of our sort of, what we demand, right? And in the process from our clients, that they should have the ability to see, to be scrappy, to be with us in a broken process sometimes, and get into walls and things. Yeah, we have this value, but it contradicts with this value when we look at it visually, and it looks bad. So how do we do that to looks good? What's more important? All of that things they face like their brand questions, and we kind of, that's like the healthy conversation,
Yeah.
most of the time. And they should be ready to have that, and see our Figma files and put comments. And there's also our sort of facilitation to make it work. Like, we really clean up all of the 100 comments we have every day.
Yep.
Put things on the archive, like make them able to judge in the crossroads, in the junctions.
So it's manageable when they really need their input. They're not overwhelmed by a whole bunch of internal conversations.
Yeah, but they should be ready to be, and that's, I guess, it's not for everyone in that sense.
Okay. So what, this is a tough question to ask you because you probably think like brand's important for everybody, but not everybody feels like they need to hire a professional to do their branding. So what's different about the people who are looking for someone, not you, but someone professional to bring in to help them with their brand, their strategy, and the design systems and so forth? Is there something different about those companies? Are they B2C instead of B2B? Are they more product folk, like physical products, or are they more like digital products? Is it SaaS? Is it dev tools? Is there anything in common that where these kinds of founders are always going to know that they eventually are going to have to hire someone like you?
Most startups that we work with are, probably funded, so they have some branding. They have something that gotten into this vacuum, which is like some logo that someone created. So they already have some feelings towards it, maybe good, maybe mixed. And when that kind of startups reach out to an agency, they're in the point where they already have clients, and there's a mismatch, and they feel it. It's in the feeling. So this is why, and then like, oh, we need to move really quick with that. Oh yeah, we have to do branding now. Our investors told us, they know. So, that's kind of also create, like, naturally we partnered with a lot of VCs also here in the Middle East, but, and it kind of worked because they're like, they advocated, why do you need the brand? They're like, they have the most macro view on their portfolio, knowing that they need brand before.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. That's great. So let's move on to pricing. So the brand sprints are extremely systematized, productized. You're doing you're taking people through a process. I'm sure there's always variability with every client. There's going to be something different, but you've got it down to a science, so to speak, and you can reliably do it in 10 days. Is the price always the same, or are you value pricing every different client?
Yeah. So it is always for the last 10 sprints that we did, it's the same. Like we kind of optimized and, got into more companies who really need it, got it into filtering. It's like, of course, it's like an opportunity
Mhm.
that we, um, but so yeah, the price is the same for we try not to change it. I believe that if we will get better in it, we will have to if we will expand as we want to, we will have to kind of break it to kind of big companies like enterprise
Mhm.
and the kind of startups that you work with now,
Mhm.
because they demand different type of the deliverable is the same, of
Mhm.
course, but the amount of communication is so different whether
Yes.
you're working with four. It can be the same, this really great. The more communication, the more chances the project gonna get worse. So like there are more people that we need to have from our side, making sure it won't.
Mhm. Yeah.
I guess so. That's kind of like the pyramid of the.
Okay. So on the low end, how many employees would be at one of these clients that you would like a smaller client? Are we talking about like 4 people or are they 40 people?
So I think in today's landscape, it's really hard. There's like really big companies, in terms of known with like 10 people that we worked with also here in
Oh.
Israel.
Mhm. Yeah, like a well-known company, but it's still small headcount.
Yeah. But the ideal the thing is that there's just one champion. We can work with big teams. We can
Mhm.
work with like 10 designers and, communicate with them and have things from them. We can all contribute to the project. But eventually there's one champion. That's what make, I think it,
Mhm.
in terms of process, really great.
Mhm.
Um,
So on their side, there's one person who is all in, is going to make it happen, and
yeah, and
not that it's your single point of contact, but they can deal with the politics on their side.
exactly.
You get it. You connect with that person, and then they can just handle their internal stuff over there. That makes sense.
Yeah, and we make sure this person is never a proxy. Like they have
Yeah.
they're like the one who can, drive with us sometimes if we let them,
Mhm. Mhm.
something like that.
Okay. And would you, if you were going to create tiers based on sort of like, I don't know, revenue bands or something like that, or what, just like the amount of communication, is that, how would you mentioned that maybe you would change your pricing for enterprise as an example. Like, what would you, kind of putting on the spot because you haven't done it yet, but what do you imagine you would use as the cutoff? So like, so if you had like a 3-tier chart on your page, like small, medium, and large, or good, better, best, and like the top option. So, well, if you're a blankety blank, then this is the one for you because it's the same deliverables, but like you said, the communication is just going to be 10x the amount of necessary communication and like just complications. Do you already know, just out of curiosity, what characteristic of the client you would use to kind of gate which one that they would be appropriate for?
Interesting question. I don't know. I guess right now,
Hmm.
yeah,
It's tricky.
it is because we can say, okay, like the amount of people, right, in that we communicate with, yeah. But the thing is that, it is 10 days, but the bigger the company, like the bigger we're probably gonna work a bit more, right? And gonna do a bit more deliverables and do a bit more fine tuning.
Hmm.
So it is changing. So I don't know. We always talk about maybe we can do like a next phase sort of thing.
Hmm.
Because this is that. Like we're not gonna change that. It's like very much of, and then we're like, oh no, but why should we? So
Right. It's tempting because the work is probably there. They're like, oh, we already trust you. You already know the whole thing. Like, could you just build the whole website?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We can always continue. It's so easy for us. Like the momentum is so high,
Yeah.
but then it's like I think it's kind of it all falls down to also the type of people who me and my wife, I guess, like we are sort of the creative directors
Mm.
each project, and we're like it's kind of it goes with our character. Like we work really hard, then we need to rest. And
Mhm.
we really need the rest, like with nothing. And
Yeah.
then we work really hard again. So we really build for these sprints.
Hmm.
And I think this what makes it like all or nothing. We just do that and we cannot do nothing else.
Hmm.
Um, so it will be interesting to see how it changes as we try to really work with bigger companies, because maybe it's not even, maybe we don't want to scale in there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a variety of ways that you could kind of increase your profits or grow whatever growth metric you want. And it could just be that you become so famous for this specific thing that you do that you can just keep increasing the price. Like it's always the same price for anybody that comes this month, but the price could just get higher and higher and you get better and better at delivering outsized results.
Yeah,
So
like the
you,
niching, more
yeah.
niching, more. I remember in one of your, like 5 years ago, but I
Mm.
remember that you were talking about this wooden duck. You were like seeing it and saying, this must be cost a fortune. Otherwise, there is no justification for it to exist. And I liked that because it was like one of my moments, I guess, to like, okay, that's so different. It's like, who cares about that, right? It's like a wooden duck. But people do care, some, and
Mhm.
more it is like unique, the more it is like, so I really liked that.
Yeah, I think it was about a decoy, a hunting decoy. I do have a vague memory of that, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but if you guys just, I'm not suggesting to do this, but just for the audience, if Under just kept raising if the price was $100,000 for a 10-day brand sprint, which I'm assuming it's not that high, but let's say it's not that high and you said it was 100,000, you're automatically not gonna, just using price segmentation, you're automatically not gonna get a bunch of small companies. You're gonna automatically get people like Domino's or something who want you to do a branding for their pizza tracker online thing or something like that.
Yeah, it is like it's from the beginning, it's like a premium sort of,
Yeah.
it is positioned as a premium. The cool thing is that we were always like, okay, let's be more premium. And then it's enforced us to become more premium than we actually were.
Yeah. I mean, your website is like, wow.
Yeah, and it's really new. It's really new. Like we had like an ugly web page up until recently that wasn't really premium. We were using our Eden at Gmail dot, all
Yeah.
of that things. And, so we kind of got into do all of that with our kind of commitment to be
Yeah.
premium.
Yeah. That makes sense. So how many, like you mentioned that once you go through one of these sprints, you really need to take a break. How many can you do in a year? Because that's kind of like the thing with productized services, especially if it's the same price for everybody, you start thinking about throughput, like it's like pretty easy to do the math and say like, okay, our maximum, if we don't change prices and we can only handle X number of clients per year, this is our maximum revenue. And if that's not enough or whatever, or it's good, but you'd like to grow it, then it becomes like, all right, can we optimize the system more? What can we do? Could we, so like how many clients could you reasonably handle in a year how many 10-day design sprints could you reasonably do in a year without like being miserable?
Yeah. So I can give you the numbers. Like we've done in 22,
Mhm.
we've done like 20 something, maybe 30 sprints, one after the other.
And are
Okay.
those
Like
all different clients or is it multiple for different product lines for one client?
for different clients. Yeah. Different
Wow.
Israeli startups. Um, and it's funny because we were exhausted at the end of the year and we were
Hmm.
saying, okay, we raised our prices slowly
Hmm.
throughout the year.
Hmm.
Let's raise our price even like now, even more, and just do like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
we were all about doing 10 sprints and it was a really hard year, not just, specifically globally,
Yeah.
but, so, and we did just 7 and it was great. We did 7 sprints and it was like we earned the same amount or, you know, maybe a bit less amount of money than we
Hmm.
did in 22, which we ran almost 30.
Mm.
So it's all about, you know, it, yeah, having more break between the sprints so we can really, like, more break is really a better sprint. Like we have to come with these creative forces and like, oh yeah, I want to eat this challenge and break it to pieces.
Yeah, you're excited. Yeah.
Um, so it is like one factor, I guess, of running them. Us and our team, right? Like
Yep.
our, not just, yeah.
So in between sprints, are you just like on vacation, or are you spending that time to do your own creative projects that recharge you? Like the striped t-shirt, for example, or one of the, the software.
Yeah, that's the idea. The idea is for my wife is to continue optimize brand sprints. She see that as like, okay, this is great. We've done that. Let's just continue that. Let's optimize that. And I'm with that.
Hmm.
I'm cool. But for me, I want more. So for me, it's like in some interesting way, I was like never into service or like productizing a service, but I kind of did it because
Hmm.
of my sort of like startup journey, my other entrepreneur sort of side, and I applied it back to this thing, which is great. And now this is like great. And but for me, yeah, I want more. And I work, and I think now we have employees, right? We didn't have employees up until 23.
Hmm.
We hired a lot of people and paid them in different contracts,
Yeah.
until we realized what, that
Yeah. That's a good segue
we'll
into,
get to there.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I work.
Yeah. But it's on your own stuff. It's not like, because I find I could do the same kind of work. So for me, it would have been coding and, building like a web application or something like that. If I'm doing it for myself, it's super energizing. If I'm doing it for clients, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's kind of
Mhm.
draining, and it feels like, even though I'm at the keyboard doing the same thing, when I would be doing it in those two different capacities, I didn't find it. I could still sort of recharge my batteries, even though I was still coding, because it was for some fun internal project or just some, toy that I was building.
Wow, so true. Like I'm ADHD, I
Hmm.
guess, like all of us today.
Yeah, it seems like it.
I need this. Like I need the jump between like 2 or 4 projects, not 5, I guess, but I need this like jump between projects,
Hmm.
because it's how I recharge entirely. Otherwise, I get obsessed. Like
Hmm.
that's like one of the reasons, like not being able to run sprints one after the other, like to just to it's really tiring. Takes space from your soul, I guess, each time.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I need this. I like this. It gives me exactly as you're saying, like the hands-on work. Like I do the coding, I do like the basic things, I do the design in between. I design my stuff. I
Hmm.
do the t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Fun. Well, let's talk about the employees thing. So maybe going back to the beginning, maybe the first time it wasn't just you and your wife, the first time you brought on a contractor, maybe start there and sort of like, what was the situation then? Why did you do it? And then fast forward to now, what was the timeline of the growth of increasing headcount, and kind of like take us through the decision process. And then of course, the way that you do the compensation, somehow you convince them to flip models. So I don't know where is the best place to start, but maybe at your first
Okay, I'll
contractor or
try.
something.
Okay, I'll try. I'll start from actually. So I was all about when I was like in the freelancer sort of going on my journey. I
Hmm.
was all about, okay, good. I need to not charge by the hour. So I had this realization, and then I started, we were growing, and I started hiring people. So we had different contracts. Sometimes it was fixed. Sometimes it was by the hour.
Hmm.
And I always had like, it is weird that I can understand why they charge by the hour, why this is like their first approach. And I will not be the one who will tell them not to do it. I will not advocate it.
Hmm.
Like, who am I? I just need
Right.
their help with like, doing things. I just want to work with them. I don't want to get them, I don't want to
Yeah.
make them go away and like too early. But then when we started having like, I started having the conversation about it, when we were like, at one point, there were like 5 to 10 people that we were hiring full time in different contracts.
Mm.
And it was really messy. And like, okay, what should we do? Like, there was a problem.
Yeah.
And um like, and I was not really much hearing, you know, I didn't want to resolve it really quick. I was like, okay, let's ask the right questions behind it, because I had this conflict that we hire people by the hour. Um, so we decided to do it. Like we were okay. We were all going for it. Like let's. And I read your content back in I was like closing the circle in my hand. Oh, Jonathan Stark.
Mm.
He's like the teaching hourly guy. Like
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, it is great. Like we have to convince them. This is all about communication, and I don't know really how to do it, but let's just. So I was just writing like a Notion document about all
Mhm.
of the benefits to get them to work not in hourly. So, and of course, I've seen all of the bad things. Like I've seen people who, what was the problem? If we frame it, then people were working really hard, getting less paid. It doesn't even matter where they are from, like in the world, like third country, like developing or like non-developing. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
I could see like these contradictions, and I was saying, okay, like we have to stop it. So it was all about communication. Wrote this Notion document, got them in to read this Notion document, and then it was amazing. And we have like this head of operation. Her name is Carmel, and I've been through all of this journey with her.
Mm.
And she's coming from let me get this translation to behavior science.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And she's like, she we were getting like different responses in one day from 10 people. So it was amazing for people like her. And she was like, Eden, you don't this is crazy. For me this is crazy to see all of that happening.
Yeah.
And I have this Slack chat that I actually went through before our meeting because I knew that I'm gonna talk about that.
Mhm.
And the responses were like, okay, I'm not ready. I don't know what does it mean? Does it mean that I'm doing my job good or not? So we were all about getting them to do different contracts, like, okay, just like we want to work with all of you. Let's just get to work. So we try to communicate what it is good for everyone.
Mhm.
And for them, it was, am I doing my job right? Like it was all of their things that we were like, I could go through one by one and have different situation, entirely different
Yeah.
way. So, um, so yeah, I guess this was so it was not just the first communication. It was always also, continuing it, not just talking about that and suddenly talking about some deeper things that relates to that.
Mm.
And then knowing that we have to get aligned, and maybe I knew that maybe we will have to say goodbye to some people because of that, and
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. That's not bad for anyone, for
Mhm.
both of us. It's
Right.
great.
Right. So was there it's why it makes total sense. It wouldn't have occurred to me, but it makes total sense to me that their reaction would be a little bit like, well, wait a minute, am I in trouble? Like, why do you want to change this? And also, and I have had people who I've tried, who sell themselves hourly and me say to them, look, I know you do this normally by the hour, but I'd really rather just pay you a weekly amount or a monthly amount. And I don't care how much you work as long as we just agree how much you're going to get done. And, and just like flatly rejected, like, no, like they're just terrified of that because it felt too risky and they just imagine that somehow I'm just going to pile so much work on them. They're going to have to work 80 hours a week or something. So not enough trust going in the other direction. And probably I didn't do a great job in that particular case. I probably didn't do a great job. I mean, I was extremely clear, but I wasn't persuasive. I don't think I didn't give them a second to like flip their mindset, because you're asking them to flip their mindset because they're used to selling their hours, even though they probably think they're good at what they do and they take pride in what they do. It's not what they sell in their minds. What they're selling, what they're billing you for is their hours. And so they really need to, if they are not used to understanding the benefits that their contribution delivers to the client and those dots being connected, then it can be a real like like just like paralyzed almost.
I would see it as like, I don't know if it's the right word, but it's some sort of an addiction.
Mm,
Because think of it, people who work by the hour, they are addicted to certain feelings that this gets them. It's like a
yeah.
competition against time. It's like, of course, one thing, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, change, right? A change. I don't like changes too,
Right.
of course. Who likes changes?
Right.
But it's a change. Like, it's more than that. Like I brush my teeth this way. How can I
Hmm.
brush my teeth? I mean, another way. No one can. So I think it's that, and we as employers, even or not employers, people who just hire people to do other things, because we also being hired by other people to do other things.
Hmm.
So all of that. So I think that really taught me a lesson about how I found out that the people who I hire perceive the relationship really different sometimes
Yeah.
than how I
Yeah.
perceive it. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. I agree. And on your point about the feeling, I remember the first time I switched to a non-hourly project, I gave a fixed price for something. And the very first minute I sat down at the keyboard to code something, I don't remember what it was, I felt the difference. The difference was, it used to be for years before that, it was just like, I'd like, okay, I'm getting my coffee and I'd start coding. And then I'd look at the clock and like 3 hours went by and it's like, oh, I just made $600. And now at that moment when I sat down, I was like, I just lost $300 or $600 or whatever it was. The feeling completely flips. But the thing that someone who's not exposed to the sales process or the delivery process with the client and the money side
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have the perspective that would make it more obvious why that's a good incentive. Like that they should, it's like it flips their whole incentive to finish at a do something good as fast as possible instead of
Mhm.
like just do something good and however long it takes is how long it takes. It's a very different feeling. It feels risky because it is risky and that's where the reward comes from, but preaching to the choir. But I can see why someone who hasn't like done sales, like really done sales and hasn't ever tried it before, it's just like a like bizarro, like what? This is like what planet is this?
Yeah, and there's so much to it, right? Biology, time, because of course we eventually sell time. I mean, in a way,
Yeah, but you're not going to pay the same. I'm not going to pay someone the same amount to organize my sock drawer as to fly a plane or something.
yeah. So the
So
perception is,
same person, same amount of time, different outcome. So it's yes, the time is the cost to the seller. It's the cost, but it's not the value. And that's what the freelancers or contractors that you're using, that's what they don't see. They don't see that it's a cost. They don't even understand the idea of profit. Usually I didn't. I was just like, oh, all the money's mine. It's all profit. It's like, no, you're not subtracting your cost. So the time, to me, the time was just like, oh, that's just water to fish. It's like, well, that's how you have to. I can't code instantly, and if I could, I wouldn't get paid anything. So it's really hard to see it until you see it, and then you can't not see it.
yeah. So I think we were all about getting them to see it, and I think um, I think there's more to it, and I think that's probably why you were interested in that specific case, because
Hmm.
we're talking about people who should expect them to see things like that. We are like entrepreneurs demand high standards from themselves and sort of like get to some point where they see it.
Hmm.
But like, why should they see it? But I think you know, it was painful for me also to look at these hours table all the time. It was just so painful for me. So I can actually say selfishly, it was painful for me seeing them do that, you know?
Yeah,
So that's like one thing,
yeah,
and the mismatch of but then I think if you have a global salary, you don't pay. So you are selling your time if you have a global salary eventually in a way, but then you're not in this mindset of time. You're not in this mindset of time anymore. And you're actually in this mindset of growing your career, even as like getting better at just your vertical thing. that you do, and get paid better, or
Mm.
like get, you know, you are focusing on making your value higher and not just
Yes.
chasing time. It
Yes.
changes you as an employee too. And I think that's like, if really getting to the bottom of it, for what's in it for employees to think in this mindset.
Yeah. Right. Even if they were going to stay as an employee, it's an incredible career move because you're focusing on delivering results instead of delivering time. So like there's tacit notion or tacit imply like it just it's so obvious, or it's actually wrong. So I don't know if obvious is the right word. It's just this tacit assumption that if I'm a good designer and I spend 2 hours on this, then you're going to get value out of it. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily true. So flipping that, whether you're an employee or you're a contractor or whether you're a consultant, if they flip it to delivering results to your boss in this case, like how can I make you look good, boss? Instead of thinking like, oh, well, the deal is I work 40 hours a week and I did 40 hours a week and I've been reliable and I didn't call in sick, then, and instead of thinking like that, and they're thinking like, how can I make my boss look better? And doing that, you're going to get everybody promoted, right? So like in a
Yeah.
big organization, that's just going to get your boss promoted. That's going to get you promoted. And of course, with that comes more money. But it's wild. The thing that is so interesting about your email when I got it was that the incentive to switch off of hourly almost never comes from the buy side. It almost never comes from the buyer, you in this case. It almost always comes from someone who has started to realize that they're working too much. They're working more than ever. They're making less money because now they're better and faster. So you have to get more clients. And so it's like this treadmill that's getting worse every year. And usually the seller side is like, oh, the person who's selling their time finally has this like epiphany that, oh, it's because I'm selling my time instead of the actual results. So it's wild. I don't think I've talked to maybe only one or two other people that are in a model like you, where they have a bunch of contractors who they use consistently. They're kind of like employees, but they're contractors and have worked out some kind of deal. So I don't know if you can share it because it's like probably internal information, but what is the deal like that the employees have switched over to, or the contract? Is it like a monthly amount? Is it per sprint? Or just for someone who's maybe exploring these kinds of ideas, like running a virtual agency or something like that, what were the ideas that you had on the table? What did you suggest in the Notion document originally? And was that different than how it ended up?
Got it. So, well, yeah, I'm happy to talk about it, of course. So, first we were like, okay, people work whenever they like, speak to me whenever they like. So it was all about alignment, not just money, but also when we work, how we work, everything. So it was like great opportunity to think about
Mm,
all of that and have many people happy.
mm,
So it was also about how we work. So we were saying, okay, in Israel, our week start on Sunday till Thursday. So we don't work on Friday, on Saturday.
mm,
And, we work with people from all over the world. So maybe, okay, great. Let's work from Monday to Thursday. Let's just work 4 days a week.
mm,
And it really defines like when we communicate, like, because then suddenly no one's, they have many things to say or to do, but we suddenly just communicate on Monday morning,
mm,
which is great. So I think the fact that suddenly we were like, okay, we're suggesting you this, and of course the role is different. So the salary was different for every kind of thing, I
mm,
guess, in terms of tables of salaries for different roles in different companies, and the path in the place in their place in their career, and
right.
junior, senior, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all around this Monday to Thursday. It's the only thing that nothing was different besides that. I mean, yeah. Um, so I think it kind of made a lot of people happy
Mm-hmm.
to know that they now have the opportunity to maybe work with us full time, and maybe have another client. Of course, we prefer not to, because we kind of like giving you all of this goodness that you can work and yeah, and relax. But everyone, have their own things, and we hoped that from that, yeah, people will realize that they don't need to chase time anymore. They don't need to think to have this mindset. They can just focus on good work. They don't have to think, oh, under like we're on this contract, and they can just say they don't need me anymore. Like maybe they don't, maybe they need me next week. Maybe they don't. No, that's like gone. Like we always
Yeah.
need you. There's
That
always what to
uncertainty.
do. There's like this small amount of people, and even we decided that even if we are going to have all of the other people that we just work with just a few hours here and there, even for them we're gonna work not in an hourly rate anymore. We just decided that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's made it good for us in the sense that um, we have to define every project goddamn good. You,
Right.
I guess you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because it's really easy to push to click on the button and say, okay, just start working. And then nothing's done. We have like 24, 40, 50, 100 hours. And we did not even define anything. We're just researching, no
Mm-hmm.
developing, no design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that kind of, even for small jobs, we were like, okay, what do we need? That's like $500 or what, let it be. I don't care. I know from the beginning. So that's great.
So do you for those people that are very, very part-time or occasional, do you just say, "Hey, I'll give you $500 to do this?" Or is it like you just propose a flat amount and
No,
however long it takes
I
them?
got it. So look, maybe there's, so Upwork, right?
Yeah.
So, if I would build my own Upwork, maybe I would remove the hourly sort
Yeah.
of bullet point entirely. And I'm telling you, I would build a much better Upwork just because of that. I would have everything else the same, okay?
Mhm.
Because I will make client much more, yeah, their expectations with themselves before
Right.
they even talk with the potential freelancer will
Yeah.
be much better. So they will come with much more confidence to this platform
Mhm.
and to the clients, to the employees that they're going to work with.
Yeah, 'cause
And
it'd be
obviously
much
on the
more
other side,
clear.
we're going to be all of that going to be much better. Um, so yeah, so we like Upwork, and we sort of, that's kind of what we do. We say, we have this fixed price project, give us your proposal. We never give price. I'm always letting the other side, I don't want to someone give me my price.
Mhm.
So it's whether good for me or not, or I'm in the stage of I can pay this amount of money for that kind of quality, or
Mhm.
I need to work really hard to find junior talent who can take the job. Maybe I spend some more time in communication, but I can
Right.
get something that. So we have all of that.
So you can find someone on Upwork and then give them a fixed price, or they give you a fixed price and you accept
Yeah.
it or not.
So yeah, we defined it from the beginning. Either it doesn't matter Upwork or not. I just said I need that. That's what I
Yeah.
need. And I think that's the cool thing, because when you say it to someone, that's what I need exactly.
Mhm.
Not like I need you. I may need you for time, but if I need you for time, just I hire you like on a global salary. That's sort of, it's kind of made like a black or white to how we hire people.
Mm.
There's no middle, and I kind of like it, I guess, because there's like expectation always.
Yeah. Yeah. It forces you to be clear about what you want. Yeah, it's like I can think of times when I've put a book. I need a book cover, and I'll go in 99 designs or something like that, and that's not hourly, and I don't think I don't I've never paid hourly for it, and it's just like, and it asks you this ton of you're basically making a creative brief, and it's all stuff I've done it a couple times, and every time I'm like, it's exhausting. It's like I don't want to think about this. I just want someone to do it. I want someone to get this information out of me, but it's great, but that's very expensive and sloppy and leads to bad outcomes because you weren't clear about what you wanted in the first place. So of course they waste a ton of time figuring you out. And what do they care? They're getting paid to figure you out. So they'll just do infinite revisions at $50 an hour. So the process on 99 designs being that, like, you really have to think through, and then it's not a fun exercise, but when you're done, or for at least for me, I'd be like, oh, I'm glad I did that, because now I know of like made some decisions that I realized weren't actually made yet, you know, like whatever it might be, the style or the title or, you know, whatever. So that's cool because then once it's really clearly defined, then a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll do that for $300. I'll do that for 1,000.
Just gave me a cool idea.
Mm,
Like I think
cool.
maybe there's, I don't know, in the future, there's like an Upwork thing that kind of sucks the information from you. Like, you know, it's already possible to do it. Like you can build a bot that just like enforces you to give the
Just
information
ask you
you,
questions. Yeah.
yeah, but in a more interesting. And then
Conversational.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, there's all of these people who are ready to do that for you. And they're
Hmm.
ready because they are ready because there's like some, I don't know, interesting.
Yeah, that it's a good point because I've found over time using ChatGPT and the other ones, I used to try and construct like, you know, 20 or 30 word big paragraph and be like, and then just like press enter and hope that it would do the thing. But now I didn't even bother. I'm just like, hey, can you help me with the back cover of a book? And it's like, sure. Do you have a PDF of the book? And I'm like, yeah, upload the PDF. And it's just like, okay. And I'll be like, can you summarize this so I understand? I know you understand it. It does a summary. It's like, oh, yeah, you do understand it. Okay. Can you make, you know, it's way conversational. It's way less
Yeah,
cognitive load.
interesting.
And then if that became a brief for,
Wow.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There's your idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's someone will do that. So everyone who hear us, like, you know, money on the floor.
Have money on the floor, right? Well, I'm looking at the clock. I know we have to wrap up. So where can people go to find you online? Maybe, you know, do you have a social
Got it.
media or if they need a brand sprint or they know someone that needs a brand sprint, where would be the best place to go?
Got it. So thank you first, of course, but
My pleasure.
it's edenvidal.com. Like I have just, you know, just one paragraph there that leads to everything. Yeah, happy to help everyone with branding, regardless. You know, I help many people who I never gonna work with. I just enjoy doing that, you know, like, you know what I
Cool.
mean.
Yeah, in between your sprints when you're
Yeah.
recharging. Well, this has been absolutely great. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Been lovely.
All right, folks, that's it for this week. I'm Jonathan Stark, and I hope you join me again next time for Ditching Hourly. Bye.